everyone. Okay, so we've just watched Devil of Christmas, so obviously spoilers ahead. George, if you want to start by introducing yourself.
I'm George of Headphones UK.
I'm VHS guy.
I'm Lasher Luke.
Fuck, I'm muted. My name is Intercactus.
And I'm Benzamori97.
And I'm Enchanted Essays, so I post reviews and video essays. I'm currently working on an Inside Number 9 video. It will be finished eventually, honest.
We'll get there.
And yeah, we just... Was it a first watch for everyone here, guys? Devil of Christmas?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Was. I've never even seen this show before.
I've seen one
I
episode.
haven't heard of it until like
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
True.
Yeah, so I've been watching it, but I've seen about half of Inside Number 9, but I've gone back and watched the previous two series that that these writers did. So for the uninitiated, I'll go back in the credits a little bit. Let's see. Oh, too far back. This is always annoying. But anyway, the guys playing Klaus and the guy playing, I can't remember what he was called, the dad guy. He both of them are those two were the writers of the show. And they write every episode and they perform in every episode. Oh, hello, Alicia Alvarado. Lovely to see you again. So yeah, each episode is an anthology series. Each one is set entirely inside a location labeled number 9, and that's pretty much the only rules, is that it's set entirely in one location, and of course the same two actors are in each one. There's often some sort of mix of comedy and drama, or a mix of comedy and horror, or some, if it is more of a comedy episode, it's often quite dark comedy. Yeah,
So they generally the same format, or are they all like that, where it's kind of like somebody watching something?
Oh no, they're all completely different. So and they do really crazy things with genre as well. So they did an episode about a robbery where it's done it's like a silent film, where obviously these robbers are being silent in the house, but you never hear anyone else talk.
Okay.
So yeah, the style and genre varies wildly. So yeah, the only thing I knew about this going into it is that it was Christmas horror, and I did know about the Krampus stuff just because, you know, when you're in an online community for something, like, some spoilers are kind of inevitable, unfortunately. So yeah, let's go around and do. And hello to Rumpelguess. Hello, I don't think I've seen you on our channel before. Welcome.
Hi, Rob.
Okay, so let's just go around and say our thoughts about the episode. So George, do you want to start?
Yeah, so I quite enjoyed it, but I will say that it's clearly trying to invoke the old-fashioned British TV shows and TV movies of the late 70s and early 80s. And they nailed the look of it. It genuinely looks like something that's just jumped out of like 1981 on the BBC.
Yeah, they did a really good job of that, didn't they?
Mm.
Oh, and did you notice which one of the actors doing the voiceover was? Who one
It
of
was
them
Derek
was?
Jacobi, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I
He's
was
actually-
waiting for. Yeah, I was waiting for you to say that.
That was really what I was gonna say. Like, I don't know who that is, but it honestly, like, I think the whole episode was really good. I think his voiceover was kind of like audiobooky for me. It didn't feel like, because I feel like that's like the real element, and it didn't feel very real to me.
Well, if you've ever seen the CBB series In the Night Garden,
Oh,
Oh,
God.
no.
he is the
Henry
creator
V,
of that
anyone?
show. He's like
The
this.
master. from Doctor Who.
Yeah.
He very
All
briefly
the-
played the Master in Doctor Who. He was also Nicodemus in Secret of Nim. He played.
And he was also the narrator in Henry V, the Kenneth Branagh film.
Well, he's done a ton of Shakespeare stuff. He's one of the few living actors who's played both Hamlet and
Claudius.
Claudius. Yes.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
pure Shakespearean.
Yeah, because he was Kenneth Branagh's mentor, kind of mentor figure.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, and he's actually one of the few actors, apart from, of course, the writers, to appear in more than one episode of Inside Number 9. So he's also in the episode "How Do You Plead," and it's mostly just a two-hander that episode, really. So it's mostly just him and Reece Shearsmith. It's a really brilliant episode. So yeah, VHS guy, do you want to go next?
Yeah, like he said,
overall thoughts on the episode?
Oh, like he said, it nailed the look. I think it was pretty good. It did move kind of quick. How long was the episode?
Half an hour.
Half an hour. Okay, so
Because BBC doesn't have ads, so they have to be almost exactly half an hour.
So I guess that's almost more of a positive than anything if it just went so fast.
It was very well paced. Yeah.
I don't know. It was pretty good. Like I said, the only really gripe I had was the narration. I feel like it was probably there for the nostalgia that y'all have. As an American, I don't care about that.
Well, the idea. Actually, I won't interrupt. So you carry on.
No, that's it. I just wish it felt more like real, because that's the opposite, right? Because the show is like a show, and then he's the real element that they're bringing. I wish he kind of approached it in more of actually a prisoner talking about it type of way.
Yeah, I did like the twist of you think it's a DVD commentary, but no, I think that was an interesting twist. I mean, like George says, as soon as the episode ended, there were 5 twists at the end there.
So Intercactus
so there's
has to leave. He just said that he's got to leave for a family thing. So bye, Intercactus.
Not a problem.
See you, dude.
See ya.
See ya.
So yeah, it's I think it was interesting. There are twists in the episode within the episode, and then there were twists in the
because the twist. The one twist I saw coming was. Are we allowed to talk spoilers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the one twist I saw coming was Kathy revealing that Steve Pemberton's character was not the father of her child. I saw that coming when she started to get the marks of the Krampus and everything. But the stuff that happened after that, I did not. I mean, it's the idea that it was all a stage to kind of kill him off. I could almost see that coming, but I wasn't expecting it. But yeah, all the bits after that, I did not see coming in the slightest.
My only one thing that kind of confused me was how he said the guy was the father dude was supposed to go back to another acting job, and he was in a rush, but then he's part of this thing to kill her. It's just really confusing, kind of.
Well,
why would a real actor want to be a part of that?
Well, apparently, according to the behind the scenes, because I just looked on Wikipedia, the cast who were involved didn't know it was a snuff film. Only the crew did.
Okay.
Oh, right. That
I wish we should explain that a little bit more, So
but that's what it says on Wikipedia anyway. I don't know, but it does.
It might have been confirmed in a DVD comment
in a DVD extra, yeah. But it does make sense because Kathy's the only member of cast to be on set when that particular moment happened. So it would make sense the other actors didn't know because they weren't there at the time.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, going back to the twist aspect, I think one of the great things about Inside Number 9 is how well they do twists. So they will often have multiple twists, and you're so preoccupied by the foreshadowing of one twist, and you're kind of, and it's not that twist won't be too obvious, but you'll be piecing that twist together, so you'll have completely missed the twist that comes after that.
Yeah.
So so yeah, going back to the length, yeah, they're all half an hour long, and they do manage to fit quite a bit of stuff into each episode. There isn't as much focus on character in this one, I would say, because obviously there is the show within the show, and it's quite a cheesy show within a show. Because they do. They're often like little plays, the sort of the character stuff that plays out. But yeah. Okay, Lasher Luke, do you want to
Yeah, I was gonna say my fault. I speak in the same manner that George and VHS guy did. That I really enjoyed it, and I was so invested in it that I was like, okay, I want to see where this is going. Like, what other madness will come from this? And the way I always. The way I'm seeing this, and I don't know if this is going to be a trend that's going to be continued, but it does feel very much like a British version of the Twilight Zone, if that makes sense.
So Tales of the Unexpected.
Yes.
Yeah, Tales of the Unexpected, Twilight Zone, that kind of thing.
Tales from the Unexpected is a British series. Roald Dahl actually wrote quite a few episodes of it.
Oh,
Well, it was originally his show. So Tales of the Unexpected comes from a name of one of his compilations of short stories. So
yeah.
the first 2 series are just Roald Dahl stories, I believe, and it was only when they were continuing the show after him that most of the episodes are written by other writers.
And it's got the most inappropriately upbeat theme song for a horror anthology series.
Yeah. I don't know why this is kind of like a running theme that I'm running into, like where you'll have series like with Blake Seven and Death Parade, who have like the most upbeat things ever, and they're like some of the most dark things ever.
And to be fair, I love the Dark Parade theme song, but yeah, it does not fit the theme of the
I know it doesn't. It's like we're gonna have a party. Okay, let's go. You're gonna be involved in a jigsaw death game. What?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, getting off topic, let's get back to it.
Getting back to topic. One thing I really did like about this as well is just the way the narrations were just like commenting on things like, oh, the picture is out, has been moved and it's a continuity error, and the fact that actors do not eat, because when I'd said this when we were watching, when the little boy was just like, okay, I'm going to bed, you haven't even eaten anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think a lot of this stuff is. I think a lot of the stuff is funnier in retrospect. Like once you see the ending, it's like it's funny that he's like pointing out these things with it being the case that it is.
Yeah, one thing that I was holding back so much, I was buying my time because I really wanted to say this, was when the kid was getting the sweets off the floor. I really wanted to say, "Come to me, my pretties! I'm the child catcher."
I was reminded more of the scene in E.T. where Elliot tempts E.T. with Reese's Pieces.
I think the only thing I'm thinking of is just the simple "ooh, piece of candy, ooh, piece of candy, ooh, piece of candy" from that one YouTube vid.
Yeah, and also as well when when they go ahead.
Oh no, please go ahead.
Yeah, all right. One other thing that I did notice, I don't know if anyone else noticed, is that when they did all the twists and everything, it was like they had a concurring sound effect. So, like when Catherine said, "It's not your child," thunderstorm, and then there was another twist earlier where you literally hear glass shattering, and that could be an allude to like the world is shattering around him.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Kinda, yeah.
Detail, right?
Yeah. So I'm wondering, is that something that continues going forward, where they'll have like a twist and they'll have a concurrent sound effect to represent that twist?
I feel like that's like almost like an ode to like the 80s types of shows that it was a part of, right?
Well,
it's definitely part of the pastiche.
Having the weather reflect the situation of a scene is an old writer's trick that's known as a pathetic fallacy.
Indeed.
It's
used in King Lear.
It was used in a lot of Shakespeare plays, yes.
Oh, we've got a hello message from somebody. I don't know how to read that.
Hey, Nidmog.
Nidmog's weird.
Anyway, Benzamori, do you want to give your thoughts on the episode?
Sure. First of all, I'm coming at this quite blind because I've not seen, apart from one episode of Inside Number 9. I think it was actually on your Discord stream, Enchanted Essays. And, so didn't really know what to sort of expect from it. But going by this episode on its own, like first of all, kudos to it for trying to replicate, the look and style of a 70s TV show, right down to the 4:3 aspect ratio, and even down to like the oversaturated colors. And I recently just come off watching some old John Pertwee episodes of Doctor Who, and looking at that so recently, and looking at this, and it's pretty spot on. As for the acting as well, like the parts that really sort of got me chuckled was just the kind of like what Luke was saying about the dinner, how they were not eating anything. Other little bits I noticed was the obviously the slap, how he slaps her, and she's touching the side of the face.
And it doesn't make contact.
The old style theatre. The only way it could have been more old style theatre slap is if they made the slap effect by her holding her hand up to her face, because that's how you do it in theatre.
Yeah,
you hold your hand up and the other person slaps it like.
That. And we tried that when I did the Tempest because but it was just like we couldn't do it, so I was just like, you know what, just slap me for real.
I had to do that once too for a performance back in uni, and the poor girl, she felt bad, but hey, if Rowan Atkinson can stand it, so could I. He's getting slapped in wicked child, and but yeah.
To be fair, Miriam Margolyes did slap him quite gently. It was sort of like.
Yeah, true, but she still felt bad for him afterwards in interviews, so. But
I guess maybe the people who have worked with him could have told her the stories about how he shows up for dinner and it never pays when he does. Then she'd be like, I don't feel bad about slapping him now.
Yeah, wicked child. Yeah, but yeah, and also I know it's meant to be sort of like just like a cheesy 70s horror film they're trying to make. Obviously with the twist of turning it into a snuff film. But honestly, half the time I was kind of thinking this would actually make a pretty decent 70s adaptation of Krampus. Because I really enjoyed the the real Krampus film, I should say.
The one by Michael Dougherty or the other one?
That's the one. Yeah, the one. And I mean, right down to it, I can just, it was. I guess you could say it was kind of convincing me to an extent, but then obviously the little details of obviously the first, of course, cut into the scene sets of them setting up and all that stuff, breaking the illusion. But I don't know. I feel like it could have got onto something here. But then again, I probably watched quite a few 70s shows, not just Doctor Who, but also Fawlty Towers, Fall of Eagles, and all sorts of others. And I just kind of expected it. I guess you could say it kind of almost convinced me too much. It was going in that way. So massive kudos. So production values, top notch.
Well, I said, I think they may have actually used an old-fashioned camera, because if you look closely, when it's filming the candle light, the flame, it does that same effect that the old cameras used to do, where it leaves a tracking effect. So I think they actually used an old-fashioned VHS camera to film that.
Well, what did they use or what did they do for Garth Marenghi? Because they did a similar look in that. That's kind of what it made me think of.
I think Garth Marenghi was post-production, but I think that was still filmed with digital cameras.
Okay.
Yeah. So, by the way, Ben Samori, what was the Inside Number 9 episode that you have seen?
It's the one. It's the one about that kid and his dying mum, and his future self comes back in time to stop. Oh shit!
Well, you didn't say which episode it was, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. Spoilers, by the way, but I don't know. I kind of thought we got the all clear on spoilers.
on spoilers for this episode. Not spoilers for that one, but
But it's whoops. You can just put a censor bar on me as I say. Well, it was the episode. Just
well, on the first Psychoville live stream, George spoiled something. I mean, it was something that was revealed on episode 2, but still.
Mm-hmm.
What did I spoil? I don't even remember now.
It was when Zach said, "Oh, he looks like he should be locked up somewhere," and he's like, "Well, he was sent to an institution."
Oh yeah. Although on that note, speaking of Psychoville, when Reece Shearsmith's character comes into the room when he's taken off his wig and disguise, when he's wearing that wig cap, he does remind me a lot of Brian the Evil Queen from Psychoville.
Yeah. And that's another thing I was gonna say. It's like I kind of saw the twist coming with like Klaus being the Krampus kind of character because of like his name literally was just like red flags of like I am Krampus because they just sound so similar.
Also taken from like the Klaus, as in like Sinterklaas, in the German equivalent of, or at least the Northern Europe equivalent of like Santa Claus, Sinterklaas. Or hell, if you even watch the film Klaus, you know what you kind of see where it's going.
I will say that the one thing, so they frame the episode as initially like it's the director doing a commentary with a guest voice person, which I thought was very clever because the BBC does do that a lot. Every Doctor Who DVD of the classic series comes with an audio commentary by some of the cast and crew, which is great, and they're always very entertaining to listen to.
Yeah.
And the way at the end when they reveal that it's actually a police interview because this tape, which is actually a snuff film, has surfaced and he's now under arrest. That was a really interesting twist. But the only thing I'll say to it is, if it was a police interview the whole time, why was the policeman so interested in him talking about continuity errors?
I know, right? I'm just like now that you brought it out, that just raises that question of like, yeah, you meant to be doing. Why isn't the policeman obviously asking more questions about the film?
I mean, then again, probably because I've seen too many horror films. I've seen too many cocky, like killers always sort of talk about the most irrelevant of things, despite ignoring the fact that, so you could just say he's just a very sort of, he's so deranged that he's sort of enjoying the masterpiece of his dirty work.
The police officer, I think he could be if you're just like playing good cop, like feigning interest in all.
Yeah,
possibly.
I think a lot of that
let him let him sort of get into his own trap by his own words.
I mean, at the end, he does say it was one of the better ones, so he evidently still has pride in his work. But I love his final line was, "If only I got to do Gummidge." Which could you imagine?
Oh my God.
As a snuff film.
Can you imagine just John Pertwee just showing up at the end and just being like, "It was me the whole time."
By the way, VHS guy, Wurzel Gummidge was a kids show in the 70s, and it's been rebooted recently. And it's about a scarecrow. The design of Wurzel Gummidge now does look like it's from a horror film.
Yeah,
I argue that Wurzel Gummidge looks more scary. But
he's like the homeless-looking dude, right? I feel like I've seen it around.
Yeah.
You might be getting that mixed up with Catweasel, which was done by the same people with the same actor, which was about a homeless guy. But yeah, he does look like a homeless guy.
Well, ironically,
no, I'm thinking of Gummidge.
Steve Pemberton is in the new version of Wurzel Gummidge.
Yes, he is. He plays the farmer. But I love, not to get off topic, but I just want to say I love the new Wurzel Gummidge. I think it's an amazing show.
I saw the first episode and I liked it.
I still have yet to see it.
Check it out.
A lot of like older like British shit is like really creepy looking. Like
we know how to scare.
Although I will say that the costume of the Krampus near the end was not the least bit scary.
No, it's just like a gimpy Krampus.
Yeah, you want to give kids nightmare terror? Just show them anything from Britain.
What is this like? There's like this claymation character. It's not like Wallace and Gromit or anything. Like it's one that's like more recent, but it's like really scary.
Is it the head from Art Attack?
Well, that's not stop motion. That's a puppet. Describe it.
Let me see if I can find it.
If it's a little brown man, that's Morph, but that's not particularly scary. Okay, I do not know what the context is, but someone has just put intercourse.
Intercourse?
What?
I have no idea what the context is, but okay.
Okay.
Is this a Wurzel Gummidge reference?
I hope not.
Is this a reference to a later Inside Number 9 episode?
God.
Can I just ask one question? Are all the episodes basically police interviews now? Is that why it's called like Inside Number 9?
No.
The
So
structure
every
of the
episode
show,
is
The structure of
episode
the show is basically the way it's actually inspired by an episode of Psychoville. So they ran under budget and they had to do one extra episode. And said episode was all filmed in one studio in one take. And Steve Pemberton and Reed Shearsmith thought, this is actually pretty good. We should do a whole series like this. So each episode is an individual anthology storyline that all take place within one room.
Well, not within one room, within one location.
Yeah, and that's why it's called Inside Number 9, because in one spot.
So yeah, all the locations are named number 9. So for example, obviously most of the time it's a house or it's an apartment, but they've also done they've done a boat, they've done they've done a karaoke booth.
Have they done? Sorry, I just wanted to ask: have they done an island with number 6?
Oh, there is a plot twist involving number 6 in one episode. Obviously, I won't spoil which one it is. But there is
Angry Kid.
There is.
Angry Kid. Oh, I know which one you're on about. VHS guy.
He looks so scary, bro.
Yeah, because he's literally just.
What character are you talking about? Sorry.
Angry Kid.
Angry Kid.
Oh, Angry Kid.
Gingerhead guy with
AKA George's favorite Aardman show.
I still get flack from people saying how much I hated on that show, but I stand by it. I do not like that show.
Yeah, I don't blame you, mate, to be honest, because I love Angry Kid, but I can easily see it's definitely not for everyone because the humor itself is just pure crude and even just the whole idea is like because basically to explain to VHS guy here, Angry Kid, the only thing that stopped motion on him is his face, whilst everything else is actually a real person. So someone had to literally sit.
That's even worse.
Stand. Yeah, I know.
It's like if you want just pure crude humor for the sake of crude humor, just watch like Fat Slags or one of the other Viz shows. They're much better.
Oh yeah, much more clean. Not.
Okay, so I did just get the end credits so we could have a look at them. I just noticed that usually it'll just have the cast list instead of the writers, but of course usually that comes up as like the credits after, like, you know, the credits that come on screen during the episode, and they didn't have that in this episode to so you were sort of fully immersed in the episode the moment the not the test card, but you know, like the clapperboard thing first appeared at the beginning of the episode. So yeah, I thought that was quite good. Part of me felt slightly sorry for the little boy with him saying, "Yeah, the child actor isn't very good, but it was hard to get a good child actor." And I'm just like, I hope that was originally part of the script and it wasn't like Casino Royale 67.
I think the kid was deliberately acting bad because
absolutely,
because he is right. If you look at kid actors from the 70s and the 80s, particularly in the BBC, then were not very convincing.
Yeah, I think that kid did a brilliant job, faking bad acting.
Oh yeah.
And so more of a Steve Pemberton heavy episode than a Reece Shearsmith one.
Although Shearsmith gets top billing because he was the first character to arrive in the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the order they've gone with this, haven't they? But
they've gone with appearance alphabetically. Yeah.
So yeah, he's but yeah, I think both of them are very good in this episode. I can't remember who said it, but someone said that at some point Steve Pemberton sounded like Matt Berry.
That was me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like when they had to do the second take, we are leaving. It's like, particularly with the moustache, he looked a lot like Jason Bainbridge from The Mighty Boosh.
Oh yeah.
Actually.
Which is it was such a shame that Matt Berry was only in the first series of Mighty Boosh. I would have loved to have seen him being a more recurring character.
Yeah. Yeah, although I think when they brought back Bob Fossell, I don't know if it would have been like when Bob Fossell came back in series 3 and it kind of it was still great, but it was kind of suffering from the fact there wasn't that same work dynamic, I thought.
I think it's still kind of. I think it's still kind of because he was like what in 2 episodes. He was in the episode with fake Vince and Howard, and then he was in the final episode with Sammy the Crab. Oh no, he's also in the party episode. I forgot about that one.
I feel like don't British shows like go on forever? Like, why did both the Noel Fielding shows get shut down?
Very rarely, actually,
There are 2 varieties of length when it comes to British shows. There's ones that keep going on forever, like our soap operas, Last of the Summer Wine, and other shows such as that.
Red Dwarf as well.
Red Dwarf.
Well, I was going to say for that, Red Dwarf is a unique case because it'll be like, okay, it'll go on for a few seasons, then it will take a break, then go on for another few seasons. Then
it took a couple of hiatuses.
But it still is technically going. But there are the other ones, because there was a formula that was created in the 70s, and it was used incredibly a lot during the 80s, where they will approve the idea for a show, do 2 seasons, because they allocated the budget to do 2 seasons, then they'd stop doing it and then move on to another show.
And of course, seasons are so much shorter over here. So Fawlty Towers is a good example of
and Young Ones.
Young Ones, yes.
And
Father Ted as well.
Yeah, well, that one could have continued if the actor didn't die.
Well, that was actually the planned ending of the show, though. They had planned that to be the last episode before it was
there
filmed.
was a different ending
to the die the day. Yeah, it just happened to die the day after.
Yeah, there was a different episode. The original ending to the final episode was that in the final episode, Father Ted gets to become a somewhat of a missionary, I suppose, helping out intercity gangs in Los Angeles. Which we then cut to a year later, where we see the priest who he'd helped convince not to kill himself, then back on the same ledge we found him at the beginning of the episode, ready to jump. Then Ted comes out to join him because he hates having to be in an LA gang so much.
One thing I don't get is like,
that's why they changed the ending.
Yeah, like have y'all seen that show Episodes?
Oh,
I've seen a few episodes of that. Yeah,
was that a British show or was that done by
Yes,
it was a British US co-production, but it was primarily filmed over here. So a lot of the actors playing Americans, like remember that woman who's like the head of comedy who always has like this horrible frown on her face. She's a British actress. And actually she is in an episode of Inside Number 9, and she was in their previous show Cycle as well.
Of course, Matt LeBlanc isn't British, of course.
Yeah.
Well, there's a bunch of people in that show that are American, but like, I was always curious because there's some shows like that like seem like they're like British produced, but then it's like it has a very like American like look to it.
So I'm pretty sure it was written over here. So it was and then the vast majority of it was filmed in this country. I think it was just like exteriors in California and stuff they shot over there. But yeah, the vast majority of it was filmed in the UK.
But I feel like they almost have a leg up if they're like, because it wasn't like on Showtime, so like they probably had some kind of like longevity because of that, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I think being a co-production certainly helped. I mean, of course, the BBC do have a channel over there, BBC America, but I think when it's obviously a co-production, that's just, that's an extra load of money. Alicia Alvarado commented saying a lot of US shows go on forever, to be honest.
That's true.
It's true. In fact, it's funny you mentioned that. I think that was one reason why, one of the main reasons, apart from the fact, Robert Llewellyn, who was the only one of the British cast of Red Dwarf, was brought in to do an American version of Red Dwarf, decided to decline it after one pilot. Apart from the pilot being kind of crap, he also knew that if he
very good.
He also knew that if he had signed a contract, he could have been done for, instead of just doing like 1 season per contract, if he ended up doing like 6 seasons highly in advance, a bit like Patrick Stewart in Star Trek, how he was signed on to do like loads and loads of series, and if it did well, he might end up being asked to do more series, and he didn't. And Robert Llewellyn didn't want to get like tied down to that level.
It did become a thing, though, that sometimes when Americans did adaptations of British shows, that they would get the most popular actor to come back, because they did the same thing for the IT Crowd pilot for the American version.
Oh my god!
As well.
Which you'd think for Red Dwarf it would be like Chris Barry would be the one to be asked.
Oh no, Crichton's always been the most popular character since Robert Llewellyn played him, and since he already. And he speaks in a Canadian accent, not an American accent, but it's close enough that he could integrate into the show pretty effectively.
Huh.
Yeah, and yet they still brought a British person to play Holly, a British woman.
I think that was actually a good idea because it still gives that computer that snarky British tone. And actually, to be honest, I think Holly was the best part of the US pilot.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, no,
was
the
okay.
best part of the US pilot was when the guy playing Lister goes, "My baseball cards must be worth a fortune."
Yeah, as
That
opposed
was an
to
okay joke, yeah.
yeah, as
But
opposed,
no, no. My favorite part was when Holly's complaining about how she's short-circuiting and going computer senile, and then she suddenly gets a spark, and she goes, "Actually, that one felt pretty good."
And I love it. I love it that no matter what, in every circle of Red Dwarf adaptations, the actors playing Lister and Rimmer will always be called Craig and Chris.
yeah, if you know the actor's name, that is, and because I think that was one of the I think that was one of the main reasons why the US pilot didn't work so well, is because they kind of made the characters too sexy. Apparently, that's the quote. Made them too like handsome looking. Who they're supposed to be playing these losers in different ways, but like losers trapped in space.
Yeah, I feel like Rimmer suffered the most compared to Lister because Rimmer just wasn't Rimmer in the US version.
Well, neither was Lister was way too good looking, and Rimmer, like the thing with Rimmer is that you have to balance that line of him being a prick but also being a likable prick, and this one they could not get that line very well.
I'm trying to think
Well-
of like actual adaptations that worked.
The Office was all right.
The Office was
Yeah.
fine. Shameless was good for a minute.
Well, speaking of adaptations, American adaptations, you know what other TV series is going to be remade in the US? Inside Number Nine.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me because also there's a US version of Ghosts as well.
Honestly, that's probably going to work really well.
I
Yeah,
can see that working quite well if they get good writers and actors involved.
yeah, because of the fact that it is an anthology series, and it's because the problem with like the Red Dwarf one is that it wasn't an anthology series, so they had a structure to go off that they had it there for them, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna botch it. Whereas this, it's because it's an anthology series, and America has done an anthology series before, like with Twilight Zone, so they are aware of how to do them.
There's so much American
I
media.
have heard on a similar note that the US version of Ghosts is actually pretty good, and I guess it could be. I mean, I might be interested to check it out because the actress who plays Allison was also in Power Rangers RPM, but at the same time, it's a matter of I came to Ghost to watch The Six Idiots, and when they're not there, it's just sort of like, well, I'm sure this is good, but it's not what I came for the show for in the first place.
Also, a lot of the problem, we were talking about this before the stream, but like with like how all the streaming services are kind of like a hindrance. That's kind of actually true in the case of like smaller shows. Like they get lost. Like I don't even know what exists. Like recently there was a show on just some random network. What was it called? It's basically like where they're like lost in this like town where they can't leave. If they leave, it like loops back around, and there's these like weird vampire things that like attack them if they don't like leave blood outside of their window or whatever. And it's a show called From, and it's super super good, but nobody's heard of it because it's on some weird ass network that nobody watches.
Yeah, that is a problem with streaming services I've found as well. Primarily because like you'll have people say like, "Oh, you've got to watch this show, you've got to watch that show, you've got to watch this show, you've got to," and I don't have time to watch everything.
Yes.
I have time to watch good things, but there's no way to know what's good anymore. It's on Epix, by the way, which switched to MGM Plus.
I don't know if we even have that over here.
I don't know if we
But,
have them over it.
And
going back-
especially region blocking as well, which is
Going
another
back to-
topic.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
going
which is
back
another
to,
can of worms. Yeah, but carry on. Sorry.
Sorry. There's a bit of a delay, so I ended up talking over you. So yeah, I think with Inside Number 9, I think in terms of the writing, I think if they get good writers, you've got this basic setup of it's in a room, it's something that's labeled Number 9, and I think it's half an hour long, and I think if you get that in I think from a writing perspective, it can work. I think it will lose a lot from not being written by the same two guys. Which, by the way, VHS Guy. Another big thing about British TV shows compared to American TV shows is that it does tend to be the same writer or same pair of writers, or it's usually a very small group of writers at the most. But usually it's one writer or two writers that will write all the episodes of a series. Which again, that's probably a big reason why in the States, a series of a show, it'll be like 20 episodes, where it'll be just 7 at the most over here. I think there's now that there's seasons in the US are a bit shorter and seasons in the UK can be a bit longer, but still it is I think it will lose a lot from not being written by the same two guys and having the same two guys performing in every episode, because that a lot of the this is probably going to sound silly, but I think a lot of the wonder of the show comes from seeing how good they are. I mean, I've been seeing people reacting to League of Gentlemen, which is a sketch show that they did. These two writers did with 2 other writers, and it was just them and one of the other writers playing pretty much all the characters in the show. And it's funny. They don't. It takes them a while to realize how many actors are playing all of them. I think they recognize Mark Gatiss, and they start to recognize Steve Pemberton, but Reece Shearsmith just disappears. I think that's partly his acting. I think it's partially because it has as distinctive facial features as the other two. But
no,
yeah,
I think you're totally right, and it kind of keeps like a lot of like the vibe stays very similar in a lot of British shows, whereas like in US shows they can kind of like have random episodes that just feel super disjointed. Like there was that season of It's Always Sunny that none of the cast actually wrote, and it was terrible. So I mean,
yeah, absolutely. There's definitely something with the consistency. I think there is generally a better consistency with British shows because they are written by just one person.
But it's also more than a job for them because it is their project, right? And like whereas in the US it's somebody just coming on for a paycheck to write an episode, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. They're pretty much always the person who created the show. So yeah, I think there are exceptions. There are soap operas. British soap operas are written by a writer's room, and Doctor Who I know is written by a writer's room. But I heard that Russell T Davies ended up sort of rewriting a lot of the scripts that other writers would write.
Are they changing out writers for the new season, or is it the same old for Doctor Who?
And they're bringing back like some writers. Like, didn't I understand they're bringing back more of Russell T because he was away for a while, and then he's just sort of asked to come back for this one with David Tennant, who's now the 14th Doctor. Is it?
Yes, 14th.
Yeah.
Because I watched like 2 episodes of like is it Jodie Whittaker? What's her name?
Jodie Whittaker. Yes, that's the 13th.
I watched 2 episodes with her, and I just nothing against her. I just couldn't get into it.
It is interesting to see someone coming into the show from a fresh perspective and their opinion of Jodie Whittaker, because all the opinions I've heard of the Whittaker/Chibnall era in the negative have always been from people who are either long-time fans of the show or got into the show from the modern series. I've never heard any opinions from people who have only watched her run and nothing else.
Yeah, but I feel like there's not that many people who are going to just start.
Oh, yeah, exactly. There's not that many people out there. I mean, to be fair, I didn't really like that era either, but I will say I don't think it's without its merit. I think it does have some good parts in it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, one of them, without a doubt, is Bradley Walsh.
Oh, yeah, Bradley Walsh is amazing in that series. And like there were a few really good episodes. Like I like the one with Nikola Tesla. That was a good episode. The Witch Hunter one. That was a good episode.
Rosa was a really good one as well, in my opinion.
Rosa was a well written episode, but it did feel like it wasn't an episode of Doctor Who. It felt more like a political historical drama. It's like you could have taken Doctor Who out of the equation and it wouldn't have changed anything.
Is that the one you talk about? The one set in during the partition of India? Because that one,
no. Rosa is the one that is about the story of Rosa Parks.
Oh right. Yeah. To be honest, I still have yet to see that episode, but
It's
I
like
will
I
be
said,
honest.
it's a well-written episode, but it like I said, it doesn't feel like, apart from the fact that there's somebody trying to change time to stop Rosa Parks from making her stand on the bus, which is so inconsequential that you could remove it and it wouldn't have changed anything. It does just kind of feel like Chris Chibnall kind of playing groupie with history a little bit.
Okay, so it'd be more of a thing that if you're a history buff, you might like, but if you're just
it's like
general crowd,
from a historical perspective, like there's an entire scene at the end where the Doctor explains Rosa Parks's legacy, like how she was given some sort of a commendation from President Clinton, and even had a star named after. It's like, this is all nice, but it's like, it's just sort of like, it just kind of felt like they were just trying to say, oh, wasn't Rosa Parks amazing? Yes, she was, but we didn't really do much in this episode.
yeah, okay, that's fair.
Yeah, and come on, we have to admit, Sacha Dawson as the Master in the Jodie Whittaker, he is the best Master of the new era.
I have to distinctly disagree on that one.
Nobody can beat John Sim. I'm sorry.
John Sim was really good, and
I've got to say, I cannot stand. Looking back, I cannot stand John Sim as the Master.
Although, if we're counting Doctors of the newer era, even though he did technically play him before, Derek Jacobi.
Yeah. I thought he was all right.
Well, Derek Jacobi, I've said on many occasions, is my favorite actor, and I thought he was like the few moments he had as the Master were really good. But he has, like I said, he did technically play him before in Scream of the Shulker, which was an animated show. And he has returned to play the Master in a few audio dramas as well.
Has Michael Sheen been in Doctor Who at all?
Yes.
Oh.
I swear he has. I just don't remember.
I feel like he would be so good in the fucking in that show.
Oh, I know. I think I know which one you're on about. Hang on.
I genuinely feel like he was like an amazing villain.
Yeah. He was the voice of House in the Doctor's Wife.
Yes, he was. He was the voice of House in the Doctor's Wife.
Yeah.
And also, it says here.
Yeah, I was watching the Good Omens the other day, and I was just thinking about that, and I was just like, he would be so.
Well, actually, because Good Omens.
I was actually going to ask, were you thinking?
Good Omens.
Like, were you thinking of Good Omens or?
Well, Good Omens
Framed?
was written. Good Omens was written by Neil Gaiman, who also wrote the episode "The Doctor's Wife."
Oh, really?
Yes, which was the episode that Michael Sheen was in.
If I can recommend also a fun little show to watch, it's called Framed, where basically it was a show that was set during the COVID pandemic, and it's actually got David Tennant and Michael Sheen, to Skype calling each other as if like they were just talking regularly.
Oh, Stage.
Stage. Sorry, not Stage.
Fantastic series. Sorry, if I may interrupt, I've just got to go through the comments quickly. Critical Boot says hello. So hello to Critical Boot. They're from the number 9 chat. Someone said, "What is this?" It was a discussion about. It was a discussion about the Devil of Christmas episode of Inside Number 9. But I will try and steer the conversation towards Inside Number 9 after we've got one question about Doctor Who. But after that, we'll go back to talking about this episode.
Okay.
Someone has asked, what would you not say about Blink in terms of quality?
Overrated
episodes of the series.
Overrated.
No,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I think at this point
it's a good episode. But I honestly don't see how it's the scariest one.
It's crazy how all y'all just know know them by name.
It's just because it's a famous one. It's a really famous episode of Doctor Who.
I remember that episode. It was super good.
Yeah, it's like that and I think Gods and Monsters, which is known as like one of the worst modern Doctor Who episodes. I think those are the two that people would know by name, I think.
I feel like it's hard to call a Doctor Who episode.
Don't you mean Love and Monsters?
Yes, I was about to say that.
One with Peter Kay. Peter Kay's
tastes like chicken.
I actually quite like that episode. I know it's controversial, but I quite like Love and Monsters.
I feel like it's hard to call a Doctor Who episode overrated because, like, I don't know.
Everything with Doctor Who is either overrated or underrated. You can never get.
That's kind of what I mean. It's like even like the best episodes aren't like. I like Doctor Who a lot, but even the best episodes aren't like amazing. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. I'll explain. First of all, Blink. is a good episode on its own, but I wouldn't quite call it the best because I kind of feel like the hype ruined it for me. Like it's well paced, but then here's the thing: Weeping Angels, they were great, but I feel like they were great for only that one episode because after a while they sort of ruined them.
When they started moving them, oh my god! When they showed us the moving them, I was just like,
that
no,
was
no.
Okay. To play devil's advocate here, when the Daleks were first introduced, they didn't have any of their abilities that they have later on.
Mm-hmm.
And Stephen Moffat did create the Weeping Angels, so he can do whatever he wants with them.
Well, it wasn't a new ability; it was just how they were shown.
The only complaint I have about the Weeping Angels moving is more just a personal preference because when they move and they have the teeth and the claws, I always imagine that when they moved, they came out of their stone form and looked more reptilian. But again, that's just my personal image. Like when they actually move and you see that really creepy head turning as the stone creaks, that was actually really scary.
Yeah. Plus as well, the Doctor does say that the angels in Blink were scavengers barely surviving. So it would make sense that they would be that it's not in the realms of impossibility that they would be able to move if they were like the angels in the Times of Angel.
Although they still kind of did. Although what was it? Time of the Angels, or was it Angels in Manhattan? Am I thinking of?
Yeah, I think you are, with the Statue of Liberty being.
The Statue of Liberty turns out to be a weeping angel. That is dumb, but I still.
Okay, I will agree. That is great. But I will say, I find the Midnight Monster way more scary than the Weeping Angels.
The Midnight Entity, that is definitely very creepy.
I feel like they just started using a lot of the old villains as like out of necessity, as how do I explain? Like they're like, I need a villain instead of like, oh, this would work perfectly here, right?
Well, they can only do so many one-off monsters, new ones. Yeah. And because I think that's the problem. That's the one thing with a lot of Doctor Who monsters. That's the problem I have with the Weeping Angels is that they're a great concept, but I feel like that they're a little bit too one-offish. Like I feel like the scare factor can only sort of work in one episode, but then after a while, the jig is sort of like for something that's meant to be for Stephen Moffat to use as like to do whatever he wants with him. I don't really see how much more he could have done with them, to be honest.
No, I agree.
I mean, even with with the Daleks, for example, you've seen them in everywhere. They can fly, they can kill on the ground. They can camouflage. They've been put into all sorts of different situations that they can adapt to anything.
They've already kind of elicited every like emotional impact or like emotional like output they can from me from Daleks. Like I'm not going to feel any way that I haven't already felt from them. Which I don't know.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Anyway, Needhog says, I like to imagine them as biblically accurate villains. Well, if they're biblically accurate, it'll be like those weird things. Like, have you seen biblically accurate angels? It's just like a load of eyes with wings. It's terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, speaking of terrifying, let's attempt
to stick on the end number 9.
Yeah.
Sorry, tangent again.
I'll say, as somebody who's never seen this show again, it does make me want to watch more episodes.
Oh, so. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hooked too. It's a lot better than the first episode of the series.
I think the first episode of the series, is really good, but it's the majority of the beginning of the episode is like awkward comedy, but there's a growing sense of dread. So I think unless you're like into the awkward comedy of it, then it will lose you that episode.
I think also something that put me off, which is really only something that is more my own personal pet peeve, and it's a technical issue, is something I notice a lot happen in modern day dramas, particularly British ones. They turn the gain up on the microphones way too high, so you can hear every tiny little bit of noise that their lips and mouths make as they're talking.
I always thought of that as more of like an issue with because they're doing like a live recording, like with like soap operas and stuff back then. Because weren't they like actually broadcast live?
No. Yeah,
only in the 50s and 60s.
No, these weren't.
Okay.
Yeah, these aren't filmed live.
I mean, Inside Number 9 did film one episode live, which I'm making my video essay on, and it has become my life.
No, not
it was
this.
a
Not
Halloween
this. I just
video.
meant,
I
I just meant the shows that it's mimicking. Didn't they do
the
it?
shows
or
it's
no?
mimicking.
Yeah,
no,
the-
I think
Well, no,
he's talking about.
this show, no,
No,
'cause
he's not talking about this
one
episode. He's talking about.
yeah, this one episode was made to look like an old 80s episode, but the majority of them are done in modern style with modern techniques.
Yeah.
I
but
think
yeah,
what you're thinking of, VHS guys, like the shows from like the 50s and 60s where they did kind of film them live, because they're still new to the broadcasting thing until they realized this is actually terrible. So let's just do all of it in post.
Yeah.
Well, I know
Yeah,
some
right.
soap operas. I don't know if they do it anymore, but they carried on doing it for a long time.
yeah,
They did it once for Corrie, but that's about it. Coronation Street. I mean.
EastEnders. They did it.
No,
EastEnders.
I think what I've heard is that Corrie originally did one episode live for like about the first few years before they went just to pre-recording them.
They also did one for a couple of years ago for a Christmas special where it was full live.
Yeah.
And I only know that because I know my family like Corrie, and I hate the show. I'm so sorry to all those fans. I hate that show.
But yeah, to go back on this with the pilot, I've not seen the pilot, but from what I can gather, and this is kind of thing with a lot of British shows, is that it is a bit awkward at first, but that's mainly standard because they're trying to find their footing, find out how the show actually works, and all of that.
Oh no, I think like it's intentionally awkward humor. The first episode of Inside Number 9. It's a very awkward situation, and like it's like intentionally awkward comedy. So yeah, but yeah, if you don't like that style of comedy, I wouldn't say it's like Alan Partridge, or I suppose it's kind of like the whole Alan Partridge Office kind of style of awkward comedy, but it's a bit like that. But there's this growing sense of dread that culminates in the twist, which George hasn't seen. you can't. How can you not judge an episode of Inside Number 9 before seeing the end of the episode? I
just got fed up with it.
I
well,
know.
Well, welcome to the internet, because that's what people do. They'll just like, it's not for me, and then they're like, "How is the show still popular? How is the show?"
I think it's also because
how can people have other opinions?
I think it's also because when I watched it, I just finished watching through all of Detectorists, which I will admit is a good show, but I felt it was a show that was like way too mired in cliche, and I felt it was really missing its opportunity and potential as a series. So I wanted to see something that was more like, because I'm a big fan of what BBC did back in the early 2000s with League of Gentlemen, Mighty Boosh, the reboot of Doctor Who, where they were willing to take risks and do surreal, strange, and potentially alienating things. And for the most part, it worked out. Now, because the BBC is on its last legs, they're a bit too afraid to do risks. So they're constantly doing stuff that will be safe and easy for them to do. So when I was watching the first episode of Inside Number 9, I was just like, this does not feel like a Steve Pemberton, Reece Shearsmith production.
Is it a budgetary thing, or like what?
It's less of a budgetary thing and more of an audience engagement thing, because we mentioned the thing about the TV licenses. Because it's something that is an optional buy, and you would only buy them if you wanted to watch the BBC, a lot of people aren't buying them anymore because they don't.
The solution to make good things, though?
Well, here's the thing. It's also the matter of how people our age to around 35 don't watch live TV anymore. Like you admitted it, Enchanted Essays admitted it. So the only people who watch it anymore are old people who don't know that there is any alternative. So they're tailoring a lot of their programming so that it will work for them.
But couldn't they just put all these same things on streaming?
They are, but it's a slow process.
It's difficult because the BBC did start their own streaming service with another British TV channel, but now they've pulled out of that agreement, and then they've started putting it on, putting those shows on iPlayer instead. So they're basically
all of their
service into a streaming service.
Got it. I mean, I would pay for a BBC like streaming service if they had their old catalog of old shows.
BBC, it wasn't quite a streaming service. It was more like the BBC's equivalent of iTunes, which was called BBC Store, where you could go onto it and you could buy the shows you wanted to watch and watch it on their own personal player. But it was such a flop, it went down within a year.
No, I mean, nope,
Yeah.
that
Well,
sounds terrible.
And also,
the BritBox, the BBC's
Yes, BrickBox.
streaming service that they did have, which they're kind of pulling out of now, but they are still available in the US, and I imagine some of their stuff will still stay on the US version because, of course, they don't have the alternative of iPlayer in the States.
Yeah.
Well, I
and
think we have
also-
I think we have on Max. There's a lot of British show, or a lot of BBC shows on HBO Max.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
and-
there's some streaming arrangements like Happy Valley. Also has Steve Pemberton in. Fantastic drama series that was BBC series, but was distributed internationally as a Netflix original. So yeah, hopefully that'll get that was much more widely seen than it would have been otherwise. Highly recommend it.
Well, what episodes of this show would you recommend me watch first?
The wonderful thing about it is because they don't stick to one genre, it will depend on what interests you, basically. So
Yes.
obviously they do some episodes like we saw today are horror, some are more of a comedy, some are more of a thriller, some are more drama.
So basically,
I
it
just like
doesn't
things that
matter
are good.
I was just saying. So basically, it's a show that you don't need to watch from beginning to end. Well, obviously, watch the episodes from beginning to end, but you don't have to watch the series from beginning to end.
I see. So you're saying just watch it all, idiot.
Well, oh no, I definitely.
I like how George
you
is
want to
giving us the
watch more-
death glare right now.
Sorry, I was,
you want to watch more
I was looking at something on my Discord. I wasn't trying to. I didn't know. So, do I look like? Am I giving evil eyes when I'm reading something?
And they just sort of would like sort of. I'm just like,
I do have crazy eyes, so yes.
No,
So
do I, mate.
So yeah, I'd say yeah, if you like more of the horror ones, I haven't seen Wise Owl, but that's definitely I keep seeing it being said as like one of the best horror ones. Deadline, the one I'm doing an episode about, is a really good horror one. It just had me on the edge of my seat from beginning to end. Seance Time, that's a good horror one. In terms of like experimental episodes, they've got some fantastic episodes that are obviously being in one location is already quite experimental, but they do have ones that are more experimental. So obviously they did a found footage one called Cold Comfort, where it's entirely told through like CCTV cameras in a call center for like a suicide prevention hotline,
Which is funny
and
because
it's really intense.
Reece Shearsmith did an episode of Doctor Who that was basically that. It was all told through security camera footage.
Yes, I have heard of that one.
Which is another
part of my
episode.
research.
It's another episode that a lot of fans really don't like, but I really liked it myself.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch it. I haven't seen any Doctor Who since Stephen Moffat left, because I was getting so annoyed when he kept saying he would leave and he didn't.
So he's basically the Gordon Brown of Doctor Who writers. VHS guy's not going to get that joke.
No,
So anyway, yeah, I thought so yeah, I'm that is an episode I'm meaning to watch. But yeah, in terms of let me think, other experimental Kidnap has kind of a experimental format because it's partially it's told I'd say about 2/3 of the episode, or maybe half of the episode is told through split screen, and that's a good thriller one. That's a kidnapping, so yeah. It's yeah, like I said, it's difficult to say where to start, partially because I've only seen half the episodes, but partially because it does depend very much on what you're interested in, what style of humor you're interested in. Like I said, there's a silent episode that is it is sort of dark comedy slapstick, and it was originally thought up as an idea for their previous series Psychoville, actually. but
I've
they did
heard of
ended up
Psycho
not using it because they thought it would be too similar. It's got so yeah, that's the series they did before that. So it does have them playing multiple characters, but it was an ongoing like comedy horror thriller drama series that, well, not really a drama, but comedy horror thriller thing that they did. And it was a continuous story with intertwining characters, and
Yes.
basically they kind of they
Daniel
didn't get
Kaluuya in
commissioned
it?
for a third series, but it was I think it was like a break for them to be able to do something to where they, and people having to watch it week to week to understand what's going on.
Yeah. It is kind of interesting, though, that with Reece Shearsmith and Steve Pemberton, that each successive show that they do, at least in terms of their big ones together, are born of an experiment that they did for the previous one. Because, of course, the last series of The League of Gentlemen had a somewhat connected story. Most of the episodes were still standalone, but there were things connecting each episode at the beginning and the end. And also, they were more serialized stories as opposed to a sketch show. And Inside Number 9 was inspired by one episode that happened essentially by accident in Psychoville.
So, I mean, my favorite, like, the reason I used to watch a lot of UK stuff back in, like, mid 2010s, I guess, early 2010s, was, like, the sitcoms. Like, do y'all still have good, funny sitcoms, like, in the vein of, like...
Not anymore, really.
Not as much, no.
We don't really... The last big... It wasn't even really a sitcom, but the last big comedy series I remember getting very popular was Detectorists, and that's definitely not like the old 80s sitcoms. I suppose Ghosts is a bit more like it, but again, it's still feeling more, it's like it's trying to be more of a drama than a comedy.
I think we have more funnier game shows than we do.
Absolutely.
Panel shows, yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
I watched Big Bad Quiz. What are some of the other ones to watch?
Taskmaster.
8 out of 10
Taskmaster is brilliant.
Taskmaster's amazing.
Mock the Week.
I mean,
and even the ones that Mock the Week's over now anyway.
Well, yeah,
and even the ones that aren't supposed to be funny can be really funny, like the chase or catchphrase.
Yeah, I was going to say The Chase. One that I'm really starting to get into at the moment is Tenable with Warwick Davis.
I haven't
heard of that.
Yeah, which is okay. The structure of it is that you have 5 friends or family members who go on a show, and it's like, okay, you win money by guessing what the top 10 of a certain category is. So, like, what were the top 10 highest grossing films of the 80s? You'd have to guess what the top 10 were.
Wait a minute. I know which one you mean. You know,
Yeah,
with the pyramid.
Yeah, with the pyramid. Yeah.
Okay, that was okay, but
I mean, I like it, but I do really enjoy The Chase as well. Particularly when Bradley just gets angry when people start being like, "I picked C, I picked B." It's like, no, I'm the one who says that.
Or like when he reacts to like funny answers, like
there's so many compilations of him on YouTube reacting to funny art, like the most famous being the Fanny Schmeller one.
Yeah, which apparently,
one?
Apparently he had to apologize for that.
I'm sorry, no. You have a name like Fanny Schmeller, you're going to be laughed at. It's like and when he went on Jonathan Ross not too long after, and Jonathan Ross gave him a load of lists of sports personalities with funny names like Dick Trickle, Ron Togner.
No, I thought it was Dick Tingler.
No, Dick Tingler is the name of Andy Capp in Germany.
Yeah. Although I have to question sometimes when he goes, "I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that." I'm like, I have to be that dick who's like, "How have you never heard of this?"
I feel like that's like a very
it's like you bring up your
British
phone like
making jokes like that, like all the names in Hot Fuzz and what's that episode of the IT Crowd?
The one with
Peter
Countdown.
File. Peter File.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Peter File. Yes.
Peter File.
Yeah.
That was during series 1 and 2 where their humor was slightly edgier.
Yeah, I think there was a sort of golden age in the 2000s of sitcoms, and it just kind of disappeared.
Yeah, there was. And a lot
another
of it,
one from the 2000s that I can recommend. A lot of it came
from the people who worked on Mighty Boosh and IT Crowd. I call them the Shoreditch Weirdos. They never had a comedy troupe name, but they did seem to work together a lot, so they were kind of a comedy troupe.
I mean,
I know the
What We Do in the Shadows, the new series, the US version, is actually like pretty in line with the humor of that time. If y'all haven't seen it,
Well, it's a mostly British cast. I mean, the three leads are all British, aren't they?
yeah. Wait, no, not the three leads. I think it has what's his
I
name
think
in it?
no, I think all three of them are British because
Well, not the guy who's
I've only seen a couple of episodes, but the woman in it, her brother's the guy who made Stathlet's Flats.
the guy who's an energy vampire. He's definitely.
Oh no, he's definitely
American.
not. But I'm talking about the like, and I've only seen a couple of episodes, and that was like a few years ago. But the ones that look all vampire-y, those three, those are all British. So I don't know in terms of like the writing if there's any British writers behind it.
Well, it was originally a New Zealand show, and I knew it. I know.
Well,
Jermaine,
there's a film, a New Zealand film. I highly recommend the film.
Yeah, but Jermaine is one of the writers, I believe. I think he goes in
really?
and actually writes some of the episodes, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, Jermaine Clement is the one who actually made the show, and I think he's written a few episodes.
Oh, I like Jermaine Clement.
I couldn't get into Matt Berry's show, The Toast of London.
That one I actually thought was good when I started it, but I never finished it just due to other shows, you could say. But I thought the first episode was pretty good. You know, like the guy from what's his name now? The guy from they played the boss from The Office.
Ricky Gervais.
You know, I feel like. Yeah, I think I need to look at the guy's name up, but you know, I feel like it's pretty much his. He fits right into the show as like an out of work actor combined with just being an overall dick as well. He's like one of those likable sort of dickheads.
It's just not funny because some people are just naturally funny. They don't have to do anything. Like him and like Danny McBride, like they just exist and make you laugh.
Yeah, it's like that Monty Python sketch where Terry Jones plays a man whose voice makes everyone laugh uncontrollably, and he just has a perfectly normal voice. It feels like that must be Matt Berry's life.
I heard apparently originally that sketch was going to be where he was going to speak in a silly voice, but they thought actually it'd be funnier if he spoke in a normal voice.
They were right.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's a brilliant sketch.
And of course, he's the most recent member of the Pythons to sadly bid us farewell. So Graham Chapman and Terry Jones. I'm not sure who the next one's going to be.
It's crazy how like not dated Monty Python is. Like it's so long ago.
In an offensive way, yeah. There's like not much offensive humor in it, at least compared to today's standards.
Yeah, I can only think of one scene that could be classed as a little offensive, and that was when they did the Attila the Hun sitcom show, where you see Eric Idle actually do blackface in it. And
I think there are a couple of other sketches of blackface, but I think it's far less oof when you see a show from that long ago do something,
especially in the
like
70s.
The further back a show is, it's easier to forgive. If you see something from like 10 or 20 years ago that has aged poorly, it's like, oh Jesus, how did you not know better?
British TV shows in the 70s were alarmingly racist.
Yeah, but it's also like a lot, but it's a lot less mean-spirited than like an American person doing blackface in the 70s.
I think the most problematic at the moment that's come up recently is the Major from Fawlty Towers. When
he just says that one line about
that line.
I won't say the line. It's a bit.
Won't say the line, but I don't think it was meant to be taken as meant to be like this is meant to be offensive. I think it was just the Major just being like is more bumbling, like in the times kind of character.
You can tell he's a guy from previous generation.
Fawlty Towers did lean a lot into offensive stereotype humor. When you look at Manuel, when you look at John Cleese in the episode The Germans,
which is ironic since he's a German himself, isn't he?
Andrew Sachs was German.
Sachs.
Andrew Sachs actually asked John Cleese if Manuel could be German because he could do a convincing German accent because that's where he was from.
Well, yeah.
And John Cleese said, "No, Spanish is funnier."
Yeah, right.
But I will say the Major has probably my favourite scene in the whole series. The I can speak English with the moose's head.
I can speak English well. I learned it from a book.
That will never be not funny. Where the Major just comes in and the moose's head.
And he's like, I'm fine. Thank you very much.
I do always love how so many comedy series that take place in a hotel. There's always that one character in there who's like always been in the hotel and just refuses to leave. Even Guest House Paradiso did it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
it
that's
must
right,
be a
yeah.
real. I think it is a real thing that happens. You
I
get like
think-
these people
yeah.
retiring to a hotel rather than a care home because
Yeah.
they know they'll be looked
And
after there.
And the only reason the major is there is because he is a major, and Basil is like, okay, I respect this guy because he's a major. He's got class.
They even did that whole cliche in Zombie Hotel, which I don't know if you guys remember that series. It was French animated, but it was done with British voice actors.
Isn't that the one with the two kids that are trying
Yes.
to live with? Yeah, I know which one you're referring
It's
to.
basically like the
Yeah.
original version of Hotel Transylvania, and there's one character who's a ghost who refuses. He's one of those permanent residents of the hotel that refuses to leave. I think was voiced by Sally Grace actually. And she said she threatened to leave once, and the owner of the hotel said that might actually save us money. She hasn't paid her rent in like 500 years.
What's she gonna do? Threaten to do the weasel voice?
No.
She sounded more like Owl actually.
Which I've got to say, and I've said this to Ben Mario.
Just call me Ben. Mate.
Ben said that after reading the books of Farthing Wood, Reza was absolutely botched in the TV series.
I think it was better though the way they did her in the TV series because it made her.
No. The books were better. The books were better.
No.
George, go and read the books. You'll regret saying that.
As someone who hasn't read all the books, I can easily say why. With that voice and literally how it is pretty much. I encourage you to even include a whole Robot Chicken sketch just because how bloody annoying those voices were. Like
I never thought I was more annoyed with her actions more than her voice. I didn't mind the voice.
Yeah,
and there's another thing.
She was overexposed that annoyed me.
Yeah, well, she's a lot. He in the book, because it's a he in the book, is a lot more like, hey, I'm the straight guy in all of this.
So
kind
basically
of character.
Boring. Which I know that sounds harsh, but that's
not boring per se, but not as like, hey, I'm over the top, so pay attention to me kind of character.
You're like the keys in front of the baby's face character, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. We still talk about Inside Number 9, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Should we start wrapping things up because we're getting very like kind of squirrely.
I mean, I think it's good that we got this out the way. So hopefully we'll have less to discuss if we all do this next time. I doubt it, but
it's just one of those things. Just tangents galore when it's.
I think we were just like, oh, they've been in Doctor Who. Okay, let's just start.
Like, ooh, Doctor Who. Doctor Who is in Doctor Who. Oh yeah, Basil Fawlty.
I don't think there's a more controversial subject.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm kind of used to this because this is what happens in my own like group that I do podcasts for.
Yeah,
I've never been on like a podcast thing like this, so I don't know.
So so in terms of future live streams, I'm going to possibly do one next Tuesday or Wednesday, because that's when JA Productions can do it. And that will probably be the other Christmas episode of Inside Number 9, which is The Bones of St. Nicholas, which I believe is also Christmas horror. That's from this year, actually. And then the after that, probably going to do the Christmas episode of League of Gentlemen, their previous show, which works as like a anthology horror episode, I think. It's like one of those horror films that has multiple stories, like
an anthology episode, basically. Is it the right word? Anthology? Or...
Yeah,
like 3 stories, like 3 stories in one.
Lol.
You,
The awkward silence.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Probably about time that we start wrapping this up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because I think internet's going, they've had enough of us.
I haven't eaten yet today.
And
Yeah,
Tommy's
go
rumbling.
and eat something then.
Go
And
eat
I
something.
need to start getting ready to get to bed because I'm in work like really early tomorrow.
No. Okay.
And wait, is
Oh.
yeah, Enchanted Essays is gone. Just us four now, I guess.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just say that I enjoyed the episode. Can't wait to see more. And yeah, that's my final words for all of this.
Wait, are we still
Have a good
live?
one.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we
We're
are.
still live because like, there's a thing at the top, like, hey, no, I don't know.
Maybe their internet went out.
Yeah,
Probably.
probably.
But hey, this was great fun. You know, like, thanks for inviting us to this live stream essays. If you can still hear us, but
Yeah,
Nice to meet everybody.
Pleasure to meet you too, mate.
Yeah.
And
All right. I'm gonna leave the studio.
and I'm going to leave as well. So take care. Speak to you later.
Right. See you around, guys.
Bye.
Anyone is still watching, the fuse blew. So yes, Benzamori, insert Monty Python intermission theme here. So yeah, quite conveniently, that is the end of the stream. I'll post about new streams on the community tab, so please do check that out. But thank you for everyone for coming, and yeah, see you guys soon.